fight. Gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I want to caution you right now to keep this fight clean at all times, protect yourself at all times, and what I say you must obey. Good luck, Brother Swate. Touch him up.
This episode of the podcast is being recorded on the night of May 5th, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Have Fun on the Indys. You can catch us on Twitter, you can catch us on Instagram, you can catch us on Facebook, all by using the handle @HaveFunOTI, @HaveFunOTI. There you'll find links to all of our media pages where we post this podcast, from YouTube to Vimeo to SoundCloud. You can find it all there, ladies and gentlemen. Old episodes, new episodes, anything your little heart desires. And as a lot of you may have noticed, Have Fun on the Indys hasn't posted much for quite a bit of months. But starting today, starting with this episode, things are going to change. Starting with this episode, the obsession starts again. The same way I used to obsess over certain goals in my past, over certain goals when I was younger, that's how I'm going to obsess over this podcast. Rain or shine, I'm going to put my nose to the grindstone and I'm going to work and I'm going to sweat and I'm going to make this podcast my baby and I'm going to feed it. And I'm going to help it grow strong and bold. And maybe one day, it'll become a something. But for now, we're at the bottom of the ladder. We're at the bottom of the ladder, and it looks like it's going to take a lot of scratching and clawing to reach the top. But that's not a problem for us here at Have Fun on the Indys. We like adversity. We like being at the bottom of the ladder, and we like making our way to the top. So here's the way the schedule is going to go down from now on. I'm going to try to put out a show at least once every 2 weeks. If I have more time, I'll do more episodes. However, guaranteed fact, 100%, I'm going to put up one episode every 2 weeks. That's a promise. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. So I was just giving you guys a heads up on what the schedule's going to be. And I'm giving you guys a heads up on what we're going to talk about now, because the first half of this podcast from now on is going to be all professional wrestling, and the back end is going to be all boxing and mixed martial arts. It's the way we're going to do things now. It gives us a lot more content, and it's very entertaining, because UFC and boxing and the rest of the mixed martial arts world is just as entertaining as professional wrestling. So, with that being said, it's time to get to the nitty-gritty of things, ladies and gentlemen. And what is going on with the WWE? I'll tell you what's going on. Sasha Banks is sitting out her contract. Luke Harper wants to leave, asking for his release. The Revival wants to leave. They get offered a $2 million contract, and they say, no, we don't want to stay in the WWE. Dean Ambrose bolted. And who's causing all this ruckus? Is it Vince McMahon? Is it Triple H? Maybe Stephanie. I don't know, maybe Shane McMahon, now that he's swole as fuck, is starting to cause chaos. But no, ladies and gentlemen, it's none of those people, in my opinion. It's 3 simple letters. AEW. Now, look, I'm a WWE guy through and through. From my childhood all the way till now, WWE, WWF back in the day has been my go-to professional wrestling company all the time. They're the ones who were there when I was going through rough times as a teen and as a child. They're the ones who have created the most emotional moments for me in that industry. And I understand AEW's in direct competition with them, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And before I get into why it's not a bad thing, I just want to say, sometimes I feel like the WWE shoots itself in the foot. And let me tell you what I mean by that. AEW is supposedly a huge competition for WWE. More than New Japan, more than Ring of Honor, more than Impact, more than all those companies. And AEW hasn't even started running shows regularly. They literally ran one show. They sold it out, yes, but they don't even have a schedule yet. They don't have a reoccurring schedule yet, and yet the WWE is already doing everything they can to stop them. Now, obviously there's a lot of questions. One, where is AEW going to end up? Is it going to be like what the rumors say, which is TBS or TNT? How many years is this guy who's a billionaire, who has all this money to spend, and most importantly, is a fan of professional wrestling? How many years is this guy willing to lose money? Because when I roll back in time and I look at Vince McMahon's eyes, good old young Vince McMahon, when he was trying to get his baby, the WWE, WWF back then, to be something, to me, when I look at Vince's eyes back in the day, not only was he willing to lose money for years on end, the man looked like he was willing to lose his life for his company, for his baby, for the WWE. So, for so many years, the only place to make a living was the WWE, and now AEW is coming along, and it seems that there's a new place for guys to try to work, for guys to make a living, and the fan in me is saying, fuck that, I'm a WWE guy, I want WWE to be number one. But as an old worker from back in the day, a long time ago, this is nothing but good. This does nothing but good things for professional wrestling. Competition brings out the best in everyone. Let's face it, right now, the wrestling business, it's booming. And you have all these companies that wrestlers can work for, and they no longer have to be scared to say, no, I don't want to do that. And hey, if I have no other choice, then see ya. I'll go somewhere else. And it's crazy because it's a little bit like 98, late 90s here, because WCW and WWF were doing the same thing back in the day. Kevin Nash left. Scott Hall left. WCW went after Brett when he was at the top. They were stealing everybody's talent, as I said, stealing, even though it's acquiring. It's just business. I don't know. It was a good thing. It made WWE badass. It made WCW badass. It made ECW awesome back in the day. And competition is a good thing. It's always a good thing. But here's the issue. WWE is so angry about AEW being a thing. Hey, WWE made AEW a big deal. WWE themselves made AEW a big deal because the hardcore fan base was obviously behind AEW. They all loved AEW. However, WWE made it a huge deal by pulling fans out of the crowd and telling them to take off their AEW shirts. WWE made AEW made AEW a big deal by taking digs at them at the Hall of Fame, with Triple H talking about they're a pissant company that isn't going to be able to do anything. Hey, I'm all for competition, and I'm excited to see these guys. I'm excited to see AEW, and I'm excited to see WWE's response to when these guys start running regular shows. They have a show coming up called Double or Nothing, and Cody Rhodes just did a promo that was insanely badass. One of the best promos I've seen in a lot of years. Here, maybe I can give you guys a little bit of taste of it. I can't play the whole thing because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube, but I'm going to see if I can play a little bit of it, just like a little snippet. I suggest all you guys go watch it. I'm sure it's on the AEW Twitter, on Instagram, all that stuff. It's a really good promo. Here's a guy who put everything he had into the WWE, and he felt he wasn't appreciated, so he left, did his own thing, and now he's almost the head of a company that has so much momentum, and they haven't even ran a show yet. They don't even have a TV show yet. They don't have a TV station to call home. Yet, you feel their passion and you feel their heart, and you could feel it here with Cody Rhodes. Here, listen to this.
nightmare. It's all very marketable. It's all very romantic, albeit not very accurate. What's accurate is that this match is generation versus generation. I am not here to kill Dustin Rhodes. I'm here to kill the Attitude Era. My entire lot, my whole class of peers, has been compared to these gilded late 90s through the early 2000s for over a decade, and it's an utter sham. Sure, you paved the roads for us, but gosh, you set the speed markers at 35 because you are terrified of any of us putting our foot down on the pedal.
Okay. Did you guys hear that? Because I did. That is a promo that came from the heart. This isn't some guy in the back, some producer coming with the script and saying, hey, here, read these lines. No, this is Cody Rhodes being Cody Rhodes. And the guy he's talking about is Dustin Rhodes. He's going to fight his brother, or wrestle his brother, at the AEW show. And Cody Rhodes is talking about how in the Attitude Era, it was great, but the wrestling wasn't the best. The wrestling wasn't always the best. And he goes on and talks about all this other stuff. For example, Cody doubles down and responds to Triple H's Pissant Company comment during the Hall of Fame at this past WrestleMania weekend. Here, let me read something what he said. He said, "You mean to tell me some pissant bodybuilder making every match a no disqualification, meandering around the crowd, throwing the jib cam at his opponent compares with the Kenny Okada match? Or some bra and panty spectacular can match up with what the woman did last September 1st. Or even Dwayne, as electric as it was, rhyming and raising, was it really better than what Punk said sitting on that stage?" And quote. See, these are the kind of things we're going to get from competition. We're going to get great promos. We're going to get great creativity. We're going to get everybody's minds to open up. And it's going to be a new era. That's my opinion. I hope the wrestling business keeps being so spontaneous the way it is now. It's a very fun time to be a professional wrestler. I can't wait till the AEW Double or Nothing. Even if they're not my favorite company, they're not the best company to me. In my opinion, the best company on the planet is WWE by far. And at number 2, and you're going to call me insane, no, it's not New Japan Pro Wrestling, and no, I hate to say it, it's not AEW. In my opinion, wrestling company number 2 is Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor gets no credit for helping keep the wrestling business alive when it was drowning in mediocrity. I mean, they've been around forever. I watched all their shows, well, most of their shows back in the day, and I love Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor still to this day is doing well. They just never really had a platform to become huge and mainstream. They've always kind of been a feeder league for a lot of these other companies. And while it still feels that way, I'll always love Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor gave me some of the best memories ever. So staying on this subject, moving on, and staying on this subject of all this craziness with WWE, I went on WrestlingInc.com and I was reading this article by a guy called Mark Middleton, and it was about Ryback. Ryback apparently came out and did some sort of interview. Oh no, he was on Twitter and he was responding to certain fans about certain things. And here's something that I didn't know. Ryback alleges or says, well, here, let's start at the beginning. On PW Insider Elite, they were talking about that when you sign a contract to be in the WWE, you obviously give up a lot of your rights, as a character and all that. You have to work under their terms, and you have to sign things that say they could use your likeness in whatever ways they want, which is fine. However, this is fucking insane, and goddamn, this is so controlling. Here's what it says on this article. When a new talent's sign, they are reportedly told to give their passwords over to people in the WWE digital media department and told not to give the passwords to anyone else. The idea is that WWE needs access to the accounts to push storylines and various campaigns. Holy shit, dude. You're giving away your social media account also? I understand if they need to monitor your social media account because they do have investors, they do have sponsors, and you have to be knowledgeable of that. You have to understand that those sponsors and investors are the ones that pay the bills. However, giving up your fucking password to your Twitters and Instagrams and Facebooks? What the fuck? Really? It's way too controlling. And I understand you want to monitor so people don't say stupid non-PC shit on there. There's got to be another way to do it. How about you call the worker and tell them, hey, take this down? It is weird and creepy. They say it's so Ryback doesn't think it's so they can push storylines of various campaign. Ryback goes the conspiracy theory route and says it's so they can monitor talent. I don't know. I hope that's not the fucking case. If it is the case, then what the fuck? You know, that's weird. And that's a little bit fucking creepy. He also went on to say that Vince McMahon has taken back more control. After, you know, he had receded some control a while back. It was all over the newspapers. Yeah, this is not 1980. It was all over the internet that Vince McMahon had relinquished some control. You know, he's getting a little bit older. And it was more on Triple H and Stephanie to run things. Well, apparently, lately, you know, not even lately, just like one show had abysmal ratings, one Raw. And Vince McMahon's taken back a little bit more control. And he's doing things the Vince way, which pisses a lot of people off. Honestly, I don't know what I think about this. If true, then fuck, it's rough. I don't know what to say. I mean, I still think talent is able to post what they want. It's not like they're being censored. In Hollywood, they've always done this where they try to take control of your social media accounts. Various people have come out and said those things. But for fuck's sakes, this is professional wrestling. Can they have a little bit to themselves and be a little bit creative themselves without everything having to be put through some sort of screening first? I don't know. It's really crazy to me. And if it's true, then, well, I guess you could say welcome to the big leagues. That's all I can really say about that. And here's one more thing. Staying on the subject of people leaving and ex-employees. Here's something crazy. How come everybody else is getting treated like shit except Dean Ambrose? Dean Ambrose is leaving, and he's not getting treated like shit. Sasha Banks isn't getting any help and has to sit out her contract. Luke Harper probably got laughed at by the WWE when he asked for his release. The Revival. The fucking Revival, who is awesome. I will be the first one to admit that I never thought the Revival was a big deal. And after the internet made them a big deal with all this talk about them being so great, I went back, watched a bunch of their matches, watched a bunch of their work, and oh my god, they are the best tag team in the world right now. And that includes the Young Bucks. And that includes all these other tag teams that I've seen all over the place. In my opinion, the Revival right now is the best tag team on the planet when it comes to professional wrestling. Well, Vince offered them about $2 million. Here, I got this information off of WrestlingInc.com by Mark Middleton again. And let me read some of this article for you. Dawson and Wilder were reportedly offered new contracts that would run for 5 years, worth $500,000 per year, according to Fightful. The report was confirmed by Dave Meltzer of F4W Online. The deals were not accepted. They were not accepted. And guess what happens next? I think we all know what happens next. The Revival says, thank you for the opportunity. We're going to work our contracts out, and then we're going to leave. So, the next week on Raw, they're shaving each other's backs, and they're a huge fucking joke. And then you flip the coin on the other side. Dean Ambrose comes out publicly and says, I can't be bought. I'm leaving. I'm going to go work wherever I want. And he gets a huge farewell show. The Shield begs him to stay. And it's so weird. Why is Dean Ambrose getting this great send-off and everybody else isn't? The WWE usually never gives a big send-off to somebody that's leaving, especially if there's a possibility of them going to AEW, which is what all the talk is about with all these talents that want to leave. And where's the proof of that? Well, it's quite simple. Starcast in Las Vegas, Undertaker, Kurt Angle were supposed to appear at Starcast, signing autographs, whatever. They were supposed to do a bunch of stuff there. And they got pulled from Starcast. And the only real obvious reason is AEW. And here's an article by Mark Middleton again over at WrestlingInc.com. And let me read some of this stuff. So, Sports Illustrated reports that the top stars were pulled from the convention due to the burgeoning war between All Elite Wrestling and WWE. While Starcast is not directly affiliated with AEW or any other promotion, there is some connection there, and the convention will feature several AEW stars. So there you have it. They said fuck it. They didn't want their guys even anywhere near the same goddamn city as AEW. It's pretty crazy, but what can you do? That's the WWE. And, you know, there's a lot of companies that try to grapple with the WWE and try to take that top spot in professional wrestling. AEW is apparently a company that's going to try to do it. And just know you're in for a war. Because the same way Eric Bischoff was ruthless with Vince McMahon on the Monday Night Wars and WCW versus WWE, Vince McMahon just might be as ruthless with all these other companies. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. But hey, not all is bad for Starcast in Las Vegas, because Angle is out, Taker is out, but one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling, is going to be making an appearance, Kenta Kobashi. If you don't know who Kenta Kobashi is, slap yourself and look it up. Just look it up. Look at his matches. You'll be amazed. He's one of the guys that made Japanese professional wrestling popular. He's one of the guys that all the workers looked up to. Hell of a wrestler, and in my opinion, he's a perfect replacement. I mean, don't really know what else to say. And here's one last topic on this whole AEW WWE thing. Let me look this up real quick. Here we go. Well, another ex-WWE guy going to AEW, but this guy's been making the rounds on the Indies and in New Japan anyways, and he's a commentator. Jim Ross signs a 3-year deal with AEW. And I don't know. I don't hate Jim Ross. I love his commentating. Hell, the whole Attitude Era was Jim Ross, and he did a great job. However, these days it's a bit weird. I mean, I've listened to JR for so many years that sometimes I feel like I need a different tone of voice. He doesn't suck. I just listened to him for too long. And I'm glad he's still doing his thing. He obviously deserves a spot in this industry. He, along with everybody else, helped revolutionize it. He helped revolutionize things as much as any promoter did, even as much as any wrestler did. That's 100% sure. Because as they're showing all these highlight packages at WrestleMania, as they're showing all these highlight packages for Raw, you hear Jim Ross making the matches. You hear Jim Ross making you excited to watch. However, people are pissed because when he was doing commentary for New Japan Pro Wrestling, boy, did he botch a lot of the stuff he said on those commentary things. Worse than I do. He didn't know half the people's names. He called people by their wrong names, and there was a lot of botches. And, you know, to his credit, there's a lot of wrestlers that you have to remember these days. It's very hard to keep up with everything. And this will be it for all the professional wrestling talk, besides one last thing that is fucking weird to me. So, back in my day, because I'm an old fuck, they used to call wrestling journalism, quote unquote, they used to call it the dirt sheets. So, if you wanted backstage information on your favorite professional wrestler or on what's happening behind the scenes in Company A or Company B or whatever, you would go to the dirt sheets. Well, apparently, everybody who works on these websites now hate the word dirt sheets. They think it besmirches their work. They think it's a word that makes them look petty and that makes them look like not real journalists. Well, hey, guess what? Stop being so fucking goddamn sensitive. You guys are dirt sheets. You guys are journalists, no doubt about it. You guys give us news that we wouldn't have if it wasn't for your hard work. But you guys are fucking dirt sheets. Half the time, besides, I swear, my two favorite websites are WrestlingInc.com for news and PWInsider.com for news. Those are my two favorite websites. Besides those two, I go through all these other wrestling news websites And it's just a slew of clickbait. And if it's not clickbait, the shit looks like it's TMZ. It's the Dirt Sheets. I'm not going to stop calling it the Dirt Sheets. It's not a horrible name. Get over it. Stop being overly sensitive about everything. You're the Dirt Sheets. And you know what we're going to do now? I'm going to go straight to the Professional Wrestling Dirt Sheets. And I'm going to see if I've missed anything before I get on to the next topics. Sorry if you hear my keyboard, all the clickety-clack sounds. But I'm in a new office. So I got a squeaky chair, a clickety-clack keyboard, and a shitty sound system. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. Let's see here. So I went straight to pwinsider.com first. And there doesn't seem to be too much crazy stuff going on. For some reason, they're reporting about Ronda Rousey being on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. They're doing this angle for tomorrow where Roman Reigns says he will open Raw, but WWE doesn't want him there. Oh, here's something pretty decent. And it's going to be weird because it's not a big deal, but I might actually get this. El Snow has an autobiography. And while I was never the biggest El Snow fan, you know that guy's got stories for days because he might not have been a main event guy in the World Wrestling Entertainment, but that guy made the rounds all over the world and has worked with WWE a lot. Cultivating talent, storylines, everything. He's a bad mofo. So I'll probably be looking at that. Here, let's scroll down some more on this dirty, dirty sheet. Oh, snaps. Here's something crazy. Chris Jericho returning to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So here's the article by Paul Jordan on pwinsider.com. It was announced today that Chris Jericho will be returning to New Japan Pro Wrestling on June 9th to challenge IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada at Dominion 2019. Boom, I'm watching that shit. That should be an awesome match. Great match. And as my friend Jeff texted me when we were talking about this, it looks like Chris Jericho's super fucking smart. He doesn't just stay grounded to one company. He leaves himself free to be able to do what he wants. If he wants to work AEW and be a main event guy there, he does it. If he wants to freaking rent out a boat and put a ring on it and have a cruise ship wrestling, he's got it. I guarantee you, if he wanted to go back to WWE, it might take a bit, but he could get right back in there. And right now, he's challenging for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. I'll be watching it. New Japan's still cool. It's just a little weird that they don't have all the guys that kind of blew them up. Like Omega, the Young Bucks, stuff like that. Anywho, let's see here. We'll scroll down. See if we can find one more. Not a lot of stuff going on. AAA has tickets on sale for their show at Madison Square Garden. Damn, now that that Madison Square Garden isn't exclusive to WWE when it comes to pro wrestling. Seems like everybody and their mom is running it. But the shows there draw, even if it's not WWE, and, you know, they're awesome. The shows are always awesome. Can't deny that. Let's see here if I can find one more before I switch topics to combat sports. Wow, this is pretty interesting. Let's see. Let me click on this one. Triple H announces new can't-miss WWE studio show for Fox Sports 1 to premiere later this year. Actually, I did hear about this a while back. Oh, man, this is crazy. So, now that WWE has gone over to Fox, Fox doesn't necessarily have a lot of experience with professional wrestling, but they have something pretty close to it. And for the last few years, they had the UFC on there. They had a lot of mixed martial arts. And UFC is promoted a lot like professional wrestling in terms of the way their video packages are done, the way the interviews are done. Now guys are coming up with gimmicks. They don't call it a gimmick, but it's a fucking gimmick when it's not who you are and you're talking and saying all these things that you wouldn't normally say. So now that they're in the WWE business, it seems like they're going to start having shows and stuff of that nature that correspond with that product, which is cool. But I have a question. This show on Fox Sports 1, is it going to be all kayfabed out? Because I understand kayfabe, but in my opinion, kayfabe has changed now. Back in the day, kayfabe was don't let anybody in on what's going on in professional wrestling in terms of how it's scripted and how it's fake, as everybody, that F word that everybody shudders when it gets spoken. But now kayfabe is different. Everybody knows it's sports entertainment. Everybody knows it's scripted. Everybody knows that these guys are athletes, but the outcome isn't real. Everybody knows that. Kayfabe now should be to where you don't just let anybody in the fucking backstage locker room. Kayfabe should be where the promoter isn't talking to fans about the show and what we should do and airing grievances about it. Kayfabe now should be about how to work a hold and not going back to your friend after you learn how to do it because you joined wrestling school and showing them how everything works. That should be kayfabe now. They shouldn't be trying to insult our intelligence and sit us here and tell me about how Kofi Kingston has this huge opportunity to win the belt and he hates this person and it's very real. If they're going to do it, in my opinion, it should be more of a news style show. You don't have to give everything away and be PW Insider and Wrestling Inc., but make it more realistic. Not this whole kayfabe thing they do at WWE shows now or WWE pay-per-views where you have people sitting on this desk like it's a boxing or MMA show and they're speaking about the matches, but it sounds so corny because they're talking about them like they're real fights. Anywho, I'll tune into that show to see just what it's about. Here's what Triple H had to say about it. He doesn't give too much detail though, but here's a small little paragraph. Triple H says, and I quote, "This is something I've wanted to happen for a long time. I think this is a perfect opportunity for it, a studio show for us. Because of the sports entertainment aspect of it, it's an endless show where you're talking about the athletic component of it. It's also an entertainment where you're talking about where things are going, the storylines, and the characters, all of it. This is going to be one of those shows. If you're a WWE fan, across the board, this is the show that will be can't miss because it's going to talk about everything you love in a way you can't get anywhere else." Okay, see that last sentence. It's going to talk about everything you love in a way you can't get anywhere else. So it's going to talk about professional wrestling and the WWE. Awesome. Love professional wrestling in a way you can't get anywhere else. I'm hoping that means a bit more realistic, a bit less insulting to our intelligence. But man, WWE hasn't even had their first show on it yet, and Fox is already right on their heels. And why not? I mean, why not? Fox has nothing but money coming their way with this WWE deal. Did they lose a shitload of money? Of course. WWE is not cheap. WWE draws consistent ratings. They might not always be NFL-style ratings, but their ratings are consistent enough to where every television station wants them. It's almost guaranteed money every Monday and, I don't know, Tuesday or whatever, every Raw and SmackDown. It's almost guaranteed money every time. Fox and the WWE might work very well together. I'll tell you that much. It's probably going to be a great partnership. Can't wait to see what happens. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to flip the script. We are going to flip the script and we're going to do a little bit of boxing talk. Because I love boxing. And this weekend, there was a couple of boxing shows on. The main one being Canelo Alvarez versus Daniel Jacobs. Canelo, they're saying this was supposed to be a big challenge for him, and it was supposed to be a big challenge for him, and in my opinion, it was a big challenge for him. Canelo is boxing's biggest star. He's been boxing's biggest star for a lot of years now, and he's got what it takes. I'm not his biggest fan. There's got times he's fought people and I didn't want him to win, but you got to give credit where credit is due. At first, the whole thing was Canelo's not good at doesn't have a lot of technical ability. He has power, he has speed, he has heart. He obviously has the look. He's a handsome young man. He has the charisma with all the Mexican folks out there. He is great on the mic. But he always had problems with technical guys. For example, he fought Floyd Mayweather, which I know is the best boxer of our generation by far. And not only the best boxer, one of the best technical boxers to have ever lived. So he loses to Mayweather because Mayweather used his boxing. And then you fast forward a little bit and he fights someone by the name of Erislandy Lara. Now that Erislandy Lara fight was super controversial. It looked like Lara won it. Arguably, Lara won that fight. But the judges, they gave it to Canelo. And it was a close fight. But I don't know, it was fishy. it was super fishy. But ever since Canelo went through these stages, these little like bumps in the road where people were talking shit and talking about how he lost that fight, Canelo sucks, he's only good at knocking people out, he's only good at brawling, that went out the window with this fucking fight. It went out the window with this fight big time. He apparently learned from that Mayweather fight. He apparently learned from that Lara fight and said, fuck that, I don't care if you're technical or not, I'm winning. And he did it all. I'm sorry, the fight was not that close as people say. He dominated that fight. He dominated with body punches. He used his technical ability that he's apparently learned these past two or 3 years, and he won. And as of today, Canelo Alvarez defeated Daniel Jacobs via unanimous decision, and he's still the champ, and he's still the biggest draw in boxing. He's still the biggest draw in boxing pay-per-view, except that now he's no longer on pay-per-view. He's on DAZN, and he's getting paid fat. The only person that can maybe is starting to, like nip at his heels a little bit is Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua is a heavyweight, which, you understand the allure there. The heavyweights have sucked back in the day. And within the past 5, 6, 7 years, the heavyweight division in boxing is super exciting. From Dillian White to Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Tito, even Ortiz. King Kong Ortiz, even him has had some sick-ass matches. One of the best heavyweight matches I saw was Ortiz versus Wilder. Great match. I will never forget that match. It's crazy. That's about the only person I can think of that might knock Canelo off that pedestal of greatest boxer in the world, or maybe not greatest boxer in the world, but biggest draw, most popular boxer in the world. Canelo has a whole country behind him in Mexico, and Anthony Joshua is bringing Europe with him because, boy, has Europe boxing made an impact here in the United States, and it's just getting started. One of the best promoters in the boxing game right now, Eddie Hearn, was like, fuck that, give me some of that United States money. He's one of the big wigs in the boxing department over at DAZN, and he's bringing everybody over. And I don't blame the guy. I mean, Bob Arum was making it impossible to make the fights people wanted to see. Freaking Oscar De La Hoya, you figured, would be a little bit of a better promoter. I mean, I'm not talking shit. He's successful, but he doesn't have a lot of boxers left in his stable. And it's weird because Oscar De La Hoya was a boxer who at one point was super, super famous, was world champion, renowned around the world. And you figured a guy like that had to go through all these obstacles, that probably had his fair share of shitty promoters and, shady businessmen, would do a little bit better when it comes to his fighters. It seems like now it's just about keeping Golden Boy Promotions afloat, which, I understand, but man, it seems like a lot of fights, using his words, get marinated before they get made. And this marination shit, fuck that. Sometimes it takes like a year or two to marinate. No, we want these fights now. We're willing to pay you for them. Please, that's all we want. That's what MMA has over boxing right now, is that in MMA, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, you get the fights you want. You get the top guys versus the top guys. Here in boxing, sometimes it's starting to get better, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. Not always. And so I know I went off on a different tangent there, but yeah, the biggest draw in the world, Canelo Alvarez wins against Daniel Jacobs by unanimous decision. And I don't know what's next for Canelo. Jacobs is talking about moving up to super middleweight, which, it'd be cool. There's some guys there that he might be able to fight, even though he does hydrate and blows up on fight night. I don't know if he's strong enough to hang with some of these guys, Eubank Jr., Anthony Durrell, Billy Joe Saunders, Gilberto Ramirez. It's tough up there, and I don't know. It's crazy sometimes, because I also heard Canelo say that he might go up and try to fight Sergey Kovalev, which is fucking insane. I mean, that fight will draw money 100% guaranteed, but dear Lord, that's you put on some weight, even though Canelo does the same shit. Oh, here's something I know. Here's something I had a gripe about Canelo. So Daniel Jacobs was only allowed to rehydrate a certain amount after his weight cut. Canelo's weight cuts are insane, and Jacobs' weight cuts are insane. They cut a lot of weight. Well, this time, Golden Boy put in the contracts that you can only rehydrate to a certain amount of pounds. So this time, they fought at 160 pounds, which is middleweight, and they're only allowed to hydrate up to 170 pounds. Well, Daniel Jacobs hydrated up to 173 pounds, and that cost him a cool $1 million, which is fucking bullshit, because Canelo Alvarez made his career off of rehydrating and coming into the ring huge. He made a career out of that. And now that he sees the kind of advantage that gives somebody, now he doesn't want other people to do it. It's weird, but, you know, business is business, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what's next for these people. Canelo's super entertaining, whether you like him or not. I'll be watching his next fight. And here's the big one that I wanted to talk about. Jarrell Big Baby Miller versus Anthony Joshua at Madison Square Garden is off. That fight is not happening, and Andy Ruiz is now in. I mean, fuck. Here's the reason why it was off. Big Baby tested positive for fucking a variety of shit. I don't even know anymore. It's been so much crap. EPO, human growth hormone, some other substance that I can't remember what happened, what it was. It would help them with cardio and all this stuff. And I know everyone is quick to judge the performance enhancer users, and I understand it. I'm not in that environment, and I know that when you cheat that way, it can really hurt somebody. You're not hitting a baseball. You're not throwing a ball into a hoop. You take steroids in MMA or in boxing, it can be very dangerous because you're punching people in the face. You're punching people in the head. So that fight's out. And it's a shame because that fight had some huge momentum going into New York. That first press conference was brutal. And I mean brutal as in brutally entertaining. Jarrell Miller was all up in Anthony Joshua's face. Got under his skin, obviously. Anthony Joshua looked pissed. It was great. And at one point in that press conference, Jarrell Big Baby Miller starts talking about how Anthony Joshua has therapeutic use exemptions for testosterone, all kinds of shit. And then this comes out, and it's the other way around. Jarrell Miller was the one taking all this stuff, and he comes out and he does at least admit it. I understand, but boy, I don't know if it was worth it. Because even if he lost, he was going to probably get the biggest payday of his career. Just for the simple fact that the fight was hyped up so much. Anthony Joshua had some feelings about this. Let me see if I can see what he said. He wasn't happy, and I'm sure he wanted to fight Jarrell Miller, but, you know, he might be a little happy because Jarrell Miller was saying some crazy shit at that press conference. At one point, it got so crazy that Anthony Joshua was hitting on Jarrell Miller's mom in the front row, and Jarrell Miller was talking about, this is cheeseburgers, my nigga. This is not steroids. And I don't know. Shit was getting insane. So, here, let me see what Anthony Joshua says about this. I got this off of my boxingnews24.com, which is a website that I often frequent for boxing news. And Mark Eisner got some quotes from Anthony Joshua. Let's see a little bit of what he had to say. Well, here's one thing he said. I'm not going to kick him while he's down, but he don't deserve to be inside the ring with me or any other heavyweight right now. I don't know what the future holds. That's not up to me. That's up to the governing bodies, but they'll make the right decision and the right call in this situation. And here's how he ends it, which is fucking just weird. This is hilarious, but weird. So after he says all that, he says, oh, and to Miller's mom, I still love you. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Okay. He still remembers that little altercation with Miller's mom, right? Well, obviously Anthony Joshua is taking it in stride a little bit. You know, he's just probably looking forward to his next match. This is Anthony Joshua's biggest fight of his whole career, and that includes Vladimir Klitschko, and that includes a lot of the fighters that he's fought. That includes the Dillian White fights, and as of now, because apparently they can't get the fights done with Wilder and Fury, they're going to have to do this fight, and this fight obviously gets canceled. And here's something Eddie Hearn had to say, because Eddie Hearn is a big deal nowadays, as I said recently, and Eddie Hearn wasn't happy about the Jarrell Miller stuff, probably because the way it was trending it was fixing to make a shitload of money. So let me see if I can get you a little bit of a soundbite of what he was saying. Here we go.
Anthony Joshua, you're talking about someone, this guy has tried to get such an edge, and it's not just an edge of a little something. This is the whole hog. This is a man that is so possessed to get an edge over Anthony Joshua in a fight that could have, who knows what could have happened. Anthony Joshua could have been injured in that ring that night. Something even worse. And all because the man weren't big enough, weren't brave enough to do it right, to do it as a sport. He had to cheat. He had to try and cheat the system. And it's frightening to think that this could go on. And we know it goes on. But to this extensive level, and this is a guy who signed for VADA testing. It's not a guy who goes, I won't get tested. He knows he's going to get tested, like every week. So what are you doing? Like, cheating's bad enough, but the bare-faced cheek of it to try and get through this. You must have been so afraid of this fight. You must have been so afraid of Anthony Joshua that you have to get this edge. And I am absolutely disgusted. And all the questions like...
So there you have it. Eddie Hearn says, you must be deathly afraid of Anthony Joshua to have to do that, and I am utterly disgusted. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It happened. It's over. And they found a replacement in Andy Ruiz. Now, fuck, man, it's a little bit crazy because Andy Ruiz is a good mid-level fighter in my opinion. He's a good fighter to watch. He's super entertaining. And recently he's gotten in way better shape. And, he's put on some good performances. A lot of knockouts, that's for sure. This guy got super knockout power. You look down at his record, he's been knocking people out. He's had a couple unanimous decisions, but it's been a lot of knockouts. His last fight, he fought Alexander Dimitrenko, I think. Here, let me look this up on Wikipedia. Alexander something. Yeah, Alexander Dimitrenko. He fought him in Carson, California at the Dignity Health Sports Park. And, he won that fight in the 5th round. Referee stoppage. I don't know what to say about this. I think it'll be super entertaining for one fact and one fact only, because Andy Ruiz is just going to go forward and he's going to try to make it a brawl and he's going to try to make it exciting. But the consensus around the boxing world is that Anthony Joshua is going to win this fight. And quite frankly, Jarrell Miller being out might be the best thing to ever happen, because Anthony Joshua is going to really get to showcase his skills here. And this is one of the fights that might propel him to the next level of popularity, because he's up there in boxing. In Europe, he's at the next level. In Europe, he's selling out 65,000 seat arenas, 70,000 seat arenas on the fucking constant, all the time. He comes out, his entrance is huge and insane, pyro, crowds going insane. All we need is for that style of promoting, that European boxing style of promoting, to come here to the United States. It'll be awesome. And whether I'm a big fan of Anthony Joshua or not, which I am, that's the way to do it. He's the man to do it. He looks good. He's good on the mic. He's young. And it is what it is. People like him. He has a whole country behind him, just like I said. Just like Canelo has Mexico, he has Europe. And that's a good thing. We want all these European guys to come over here and give boxing a little kick in the ass, because sometimes boxing in the United States, the money gets too much in the way. Fights don't get made, and it can be a disaster at times, but I have faith in Eddie Hearn. Hey, Eddie Hearn, if you're listening to me, hire me. I see all these guys you got going on with you. The boxing scene, IFL TV, you got all these, the boxing voice. You got all these guys that you let in the backstage area to do interviews and promos with your fighters. Man, that'd be awesome. One day, Eddie. One day. So, that was boxing. That was boxing. And now we're going to jump right into mixed martial arts. This weekend, the UFC had a show at the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Good show. I'm going to focus on the main event. Main event was Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Al Iaquinta. Sick fight. It was a stand-up fight for the most part. Cowboy won decisively. Ever since he's had a child, he's done so well. And it's insane because I've heard a lot of fans and even some fighters say that once you have a child, that killer instinct isn't the same. You might have a bigger drive. You might want to provide a a better environment for your kid. You might want to provide a good life, which means you'll probably train harder and you'll probably be more disciplined. But a lot of people say that killer instinct leaves you. Well, apparently not for Donald Cowboy Cerrone. This guy has been on a fucking tear. A lot of times it looks like he's about to give up, or he's gassing and he doesn't want to continue. And back in the day, he would just tap, or I don't know what would happen, but now he hasn't. Let's take a look at his last 3 fights. Fights that were not easy, especially because Cowboy, even though he's a submission guy, I remember him submitting a lot of people. He's mainly been I knock your head off guy. His striking has leaps and bounds. Let's see. Ali Aquinta busted him up with the striking. Alexander Hernandez, TKO by a head kick and punches. Insane. Mike Perry, who is badass with the striking, submission, armbar. The list goes on and on. Donald Cowboy Cerrone was supposed to fight Conor McGregor sometime this summer. Even Conor McGregor mentioned it, but apparently it didn't happen. McGregor came out, said he was retired. Now he's not retired. And as usual, you don't know what's going on with the man. And I mean, I guess that's okay because that's what you want, right? Those fighters don't want you to know what's happening. They want to keep the anticipation there. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy how Cowboy is, you know, it felt like he was at the end of his career at one point when he had, he lost to Jorge Masvidal, Robbie Lawler, and Darren Till back to back to back. You know, that's rough. He had 3 fights in 2018. He lost 1. He did beat Mike Perry and Yancy Medeiros. I don't know. Cowboy rocks. He's the epitome of a fighter. He's a guy you always want to watch. It was a good show. Anywho, here's some news. I mean, good news. UFC announces 5-year partnership with Abu Dhabi Department of Culture and Tourism. So the UFC is going back to Abu Dhabi. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but I think it was Abu Dhabi when Anderson Silva fought Damian Maia, I want to say. And dear Lord, Dana White was pissed because Anderson Silva at one point wasn't even trying to finish the guy and wasn't even trying to end it when he clearly could have and send home all these people that paid huge sums of money to have the UFC there leave happy. I remember that incident, but now the UFC's back there for, what did they say? 5-year partnership. The rumor is the UFC 242 is what's probably going to go down there. Maybe. I don't know. It's just a rumor. They're saying it might be Khabib versus Dustin Poirier. I mean, fuck. That'd be awesome to see. Can't wait to see Khabib fight again. So that should be good. Abu Dhabi always has all that fancy entrances and badass arenas. I dig it. Let's see here. Oh, I have something here that I want to talk about. It's kind of old, actually, and it is a little bit MMA related because there's a lot of ex-MMA fighters that go there. Bareknuckle Fighting Championship. So there's this thing called Bareknuckle Fighting Championship, and they're kind of blowing up. It's basically bare-knuckle boxing. And a lot of ex-UFC guys are starting to go there. I mean, Johnny Hendricks. There's a bunch of guys. I can't even off the top of my head. Let's see if I can look up their roster real quick. Hopefully it's easy to look up their roster. Because I know they had Johnny Hendricks there. They had Artem Lobov there at this past show against Jason Knight, which was insanity. That fight. I've watched fights for a lot of years now. A lot of years. And I watch everything when it comes to fights. You know, as much as I can consume with the schedule that I have due to work and stuff. And for the first time in a long time, including the UFC's old school anything goes, fish hook, punch you in the balls, all that goes. This was kind of disturbing. Bare knuckle fighting was a little bit disturbing when Artem Lobov and Jason Knight got into it. It was graphic. They got cut up real bad. Real bad. And I saw this picture of Artem Lobov in the back like an hour later where he had his fist raised in a ball and he was posing for an Instagram picture or whatever picture. I can't find it. If not, I would have posted it. But his fucking hands looked like boxing gloves. That's how swollen they were. Jason Knight had a cut coming down, a cut everywhere. There was cuts everywhere. Swollen fists. It was crazy. You know, I don't know. I'm going to watch it again just because of the freak show factor. And sometimes there's guys where I'm like, oh shit, that guy's in it. I want to watch that. But it's rough. Charles Bennett's in it. Crazy Horse. Joey Beltran, I forgot, was in it. Just a bunch of people. And I get the feeling we're going to see more because at that last show after Lobov beat Jason Knight, Lobov challenged Paulie Malignaggi because Paulie Malignaggi and Lobov have been getting into it. And Paulie Malignaggi said yes. So I don't know when it's happening, but the insanity continues. And Paulie Malignaggi, which was a world-renowned boxing champion for a very long time, is going to fight Artem Lobov in bare-knuckle fighting. And the rumor is he's going to try to entice McGregor to do it. Because the way he looks at it is McGregor doesn't want it to be a boxing match, just purely a boxing match, because he already did that. And I don't think Paulie wants to step into the cage and do MMA. So they're trying to find a happy medium. And I guess bare knuckle boxing's what it is. I mean, I seriously doubt McGregor does it, but the fact that Paulie's doing it is weird. He doesn't have to do it. He has a great job over at Showtime announcing all the big fights. He even goes over to Europe and announces all their huge fucking fights, which are held in giant soccer stadiums. It's nuts. I'll be watching, though, here and there. I probably won't watch all their shows, but I'll be watching here and there. That last one, like I said, I watched that Artem Lobov fight, and it was just freaking crazy. Let's see here. All right, we'll see. Oh, here's something crazy when it comes to MMA, too. Something that's non-UFC related. Vitor Belfort might fight Roy Jones Jr. in ONE FC. Holy crap. You know, I know they're both past their prime. They're not spring chickens anymore. I understand that. But holy fuck. One fighting championship can't stop fucking topping themselves. It's insane. They've had fights after fight. They have a whole kickboxing thing going on. Every single show is insane. Brandon Vera is their heavyweight champion. Ong Lin Sang, the Burmese Python, puts on fights that are badass. Shinya Aoki just won their lightweight belt. Martin Nguyen, fancy as fuck winning shit. Bibiano Fernandez, who at one point was the hottest free agent in all of mixed martial arts, is doing things. One of their biggest stars, Angela Lee, still the women's atomweight champion. I mean, some of their shows are insanely badass. They're big shows, and they're growing, and you can't help but love a company like that. It's just a shame that I can't watch every single ONE FC. I watch mostly every show, but it's impossible to watch every show. There's so much MMA now that it's impossible to watch it all. But you don't have to watch it all. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I wish I could watch it all, but I can't. I can't keep up with everything. I can't keep up with UFC, ONE FC, Bellator, Ryzen, KSW in Poland, plus all the boxing I watch, plus all the professional wrestling. It's impossible to keep up with everything. But you know what I don't do? I don't bitch about the fact that there's too much MMA. I go on these forums and everybody's bitching. The product's watered down. That card sucks. Who are these guys? Hey, guess what? You don't have to watch every single show. Watch whatever show you want. You don't have to watch everything. How is it a bad thing that there's more MMA shows? It isn't. Would you rather have like 6 MMA shows a year? Because I wouldn't. The cards would be more stacked, but I wouldn't. I love the way it is. They still have stacked cards, just not every show. And you know who bitches about it the most? And it pisses me off? It's the United States. The United States MMA fans bitch about it the most because we're spoiled and we get a channel that will carry every single one of those companies I mentioned, from Bellator to Ryzen to UFC to ONE FC to KSW to Legacy Fighting Championships, all that. They carry it all. So we sit here and all these American fans bitch and bitch and bitch that they don't know who these that this UFC show in, I don't know, fucking Poland, they don't know who those people are. This UFC show in London, England, they don't know who these people are. Hey, guess what, morons? Sometimes these shows aren't catered to you, aren't catered to the American fan. Dana White and the UFC has come out and said this shit. Some of these shows are catered to that specific part of the world so they can help grow in that market. For God's sakes, let's stop bitching about there being too much combat sports. If you don't want to watch it, turn off the fucking TV, clean yourself up, and go outside and do something. Lift a weight or something. Jesus. Anyways, I know I went off on a tangent like an idiot, and I straight skipped one I wanted to show you guys because I have CTE. But so we started talking about Vitor Belfort and Roy Jones Jr. fighting. But before that, we were talking about how it was kind of disturbing. It was kind of disturbing how bloody and how graphic Bareknuckle Fighting Championship was. But here's something more disturbing about it. You have the owner of Bareknuckle Fighting Championship, President Dave Feldman, entered the ring a la Vince McMahon, like he's Vince. And this is what he had to say. Because there was a fight. Well, let me give you the context of this first. There was a fight before this where I think it was Rusty Crowder versus Reggie Barnett. And their fight was not as exciting as all the other fights. They weren't hitting as hard. They were trying to use more technical boxing than brawling. And apparently, the president, Dave Feldman, got pissed and emotional and had this to say.
Next fight of the night, we would like to turn the microphone and your attention to the president of the Bareknuckle Fighting Championships, Mr. David Feldman.
Hey, Biloxi, you guys having fun tonight? Make some noise. Bareknuckle Fighting Championship is a brand new sport and a brand new company, and we're here for action. And we want action, and we demand action from the fighters. We didn't get action in that last fight because Rusty Crowder wanted to run. Therefore, he's given half his purse to Reggie Barnett. Make some noise, Biloxi. This is how we do it at Bareknuckle. You fight or you don't get paid.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Old douchebag here. You fight or you don't get paid. We want action. We demand action. We didn't get action in the last fight because Rusty Crowder wanted to run. What a fucking giant douche. And while he did come out and said that he just got a little too emotional and that he is going to get paid his full purse, hey, buddy, if you don't like the way he fights, just don't book him again. What are you doing? You're going out there in the middle of the ring like it's professional wrestling. What, you no chance in hell ring through the speakers? And you come out and you berate this guy because he ran away after fighting Bareknuckle with another grown adult? Get the fuck out of here. You know, that pisses me off. It's just lack of disrespect. But, I mean, the guy got paid. I don't know if he's going to get booked again, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully David Feldman wakes the fuck up and realizes that he's not Dana White or Vince McMahon. So, I think we are nearing the end of the show. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done it in a while. But I think we're good to go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Have Fun on the Indies. At Have Fun OTI. Remember that? At Have Fun OTI. I'm Abe. And until next time, have fun on the Indies.